Good morning everybody and welcome to another sunrise safari. We are just being let through the gates. Look at this. Woo, we're free. Onto the bottom of the floor we go. Bye-bye. Right, I'm just going to keep my sunglasses on just for the moment because the sun's particularly bright here and I shall try and take them off a little bit later. My name is Taylor and on camera with me today is Manu. And we're hoping to find all sorts of wonderful things. Remember, this is live, this is interactive, this is happening right now. So hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can also chat to us via the YouTube chat. I'm going to go down just a little bit further and then I'll pull off to the side and we'll have a look at the beautiful view that we've got today. I think it's important that we stop and appreciate the view at least once a day. Well, when you're in the Mara, I suppose you're driving around, you're constantly seeing it. But it isn't going to be just me out today. Noelle is heading out on her first official safari as a Wild Earth employee, so that's quite exciting. I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing her again. Is it a girls' drive? Oh no, Scott's out. Johnny Bravo is also going to be out. I don't know where Johnny is. I haven't heard anything about Johnny, in fact, this morning. Hopefully he's woken up. He's on the other side of the river. Okay, I'm just going to pull off here. But I'm also going to go into low range because I'm petrified that I just keep going down the hill. That would be disastrous. Okay, that'll do. Oh no, you maybe need to go into reverse. Isn't that spectacular though? I love it that I can watch the sunrise and the sunset. Now I believe you're all wondering about my eyes this morning. They're getting there. Still a little bit blurry. It's all a bit fuzzy, so we're still doing blurry safaris. However, my eyes don't seem particularly sensitive to light, except when the sun rises and it's like basically glaring straight into your eyes, and then that hurts a little bit. But other than that, no more itchiness, no more real redness, no more soreness. Pretty good, so thank you. The drops are obviously working. I will test them today though, once I take them out. Oh, I'm so confused. Wait, Kirst, is Noelle not out this morning? She is out, isn't she? Or not? Did I make that up? Is it Tristan driving? I don't actually know what's going on this morning. Oh, my bad. I gave you such false information. I made that up. I heard that they were looking for a spare earpiece for Noelle and I assumed that she was driving. That's not the case. Unfortunately, you're stuck with Tristan again this morning, so let's go across to the Mumbler.
Right, so we are out and about and ready to go in not so sunny South Africa this morning. It is a little bit on the dreary side. There is a couple Nyala and Impalas feeding around quarantine, but it promises to be quite a nice morning. At least it's nice and cool this morning, and there's lots and lots of promise in the air in the form of lions roaring. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I do have Senzo. So Taylor mentioned that Noelle will be on drive. Noelle is actually on drive with me, but she'll be only out on the vehicle by herself in the next few days. I think by the end of the week she should be out and about. So right, plans for the morning. I'm not quite sure yet. We did hear some lions roaring, like I say, and I'm not 100% sure which direction to head to find them. I know Aubrey's checking on our western side, should I say, for the Angama Pride, but I think I heard them a little bit further north. There was also monkeys and Nyala alarm calling throughout the night quite close to the camp, so I'm going to have a little look around there. Now, if you did see anything on the dam cam, remember this is interactive, so hashtag Safari Live or YouTube chat should you want to get hold of us and let us know if you did see something. Now, I believe some of you did hear a leopard sawing around 4 a.m. near the dam cam. I wonder if Tingana is not hanging around. I'll go and just check around and see. It feels like there might be a little bit of misty drizzle in the air as well, so hopefully that won't come in and close in, because otherwise that's going to be a bit of a problem. But let's carry on and see what else we can find. It's nice just to stop and always in the mornings and sit with these guys. I like doing it just from a point of view that we often see these Nyala and Impalas and we drive past them and we don't really take too much notice, and it's a good time just to sit with them early in the mornings, because you have a situation where You can listen, so if there are lions roaring or there's leopards soaring, you can hear what's going on. And that, coupled with the fact that they are just beautiful animals, we often so easily overlook things like impalas that it's great to just spend a little time with them and just watch what's going on. And like I say, listen and take in the dawn chorus and the morning sounds before deciding on where to go. Sometimes we don't have clear kind of views of where we're going to go and clear ideas. Is that one going to go to the toilet? Yes, it is. I was hoping for a second he was going to start philo-erecting and putting up his hair as another male is around. There isn't one other male here, but it seems as though he's not. Now, Senzo, can I ask you to come onto the dashboard for me, because there's a little friend that I've got on my dashboard. He's just over there. You can see absolutely minute, but there is a tiny, tiny Salticidae, so a little jumping spider. And I love these guys. They have these kind of massive big eyes, and they almost look a little bit bewildered as they look at you. And the reason why they need these big eyes is because when they're jumping, they need to be able to see effectively where they're going. There we go. Good morning. It's unraveling itself a little bit, but look at the camouflage on that. If this spider was anywhere in a tree, you would really not be able to see it, but now when it kind of is out on a dashboard and out in the open, it's quite easy. And this is the individual that keeps spinning a web across the entire surface of Rusty. It's pretty much all over, from my steering wheel to the camera to everywhere, and it makes a bit of a mess in the car, and I have to kind of clean it every day and every morning. So hopefully this guy, we can get him out and onto something else so he stops doing it, or she, and we get a situation where we don't have little babies hanging around anymore inside here. Very cool to see though. I always like when we've got spiders around, and particularly jumping spiders. Jumping spiders are some of my absolute favorites. I really love the little guys. They're amazing in the way that they're able to move around, and well, they've just got the coolest little faces. Like I say, these massive big eyes that kind of look at you, and then often are quite brightly colored. Actually, it's one of the nice traits about that particular species, well, family, is that they've got a lot of interesting colorations and lots of kind of metallic colors on them, which is very, very cool to see. Right, both the Djuma vehicles are out and moving, which means that I can now go and check around the camp without having to disturb any of the guests or make any issues for them, so that's also great news. I wonder who was sawing last night, because Tingana was heard sawing the night before, and so it would be interesting. Ah, Morning Glory, that's very cool. You say the only thing seen at the dam was a spoonbill, and I wonder if it's still there. I wouldn't mind going and catching up with a spoonbill. I saw one at Chitwa Dam a few days ago, but I haven't seen them for quite some time, and I love spoonbills. They're amazing to watch, and they generally are quite successful when they're in a little feeding pattern. You'll often find that they will catch quite a few things, particularly frogs and obviously other aquatic animals that they do go after, and there's a few Nyala females that Senzo's just pointing at that are crossing over, so I wouldn't mind going and catching up with the spoonbills. I like them, and we don't see them that often just because we don't have huge amounts of water on Djuma that is big enough to kind of satisfy a big grouping of spoonbills. There's a few little Nyala females that are looking at us. That little one is quite fluffy still. So young Nyala, that is not very old at all. I'd say probably about 6 months, and they often do have a lot of fur when they are younger. It's difficult to say if it's a male or female just yet. Generally you'll find with the males they start taking on a little bit of a darker tone, and the hair starts to grow a little bit more around the neck area, so it could be that it's a male who's starting to kind of darken up a little bit, but it's very, very young, and so difficult to tell at that age. Also don't see any sign of horns coming through, so maybe it's still a little female. Generally their horns would have come out by now at that age. There's mom that's just come and protecting over it. Very cool. I think these guys had a tough time last night. They were the ones that were shouting about and making quite a lot of noise. Maybe that's why they've come up towards quarantine, is that they spotted a predator. Instead of hanging around in the dense thickets that are off to this northern side, here there's a drainage line that runs down past the camp, and it's dense and thick, and we know that the leopards absolutely love that section. And so if there's a leopard around, rather than sitting in there, head off to more open climbs on quarantine. Alright, Nyalas, have a lovely day. Enjoy the cooler weather. I'm sure they will after the heat of yesterday afternoon. I'm certainly enjoying having a bit of cool weather and a bit of overcast weather. It makes it much nicer when we're out here and it's nice and cool and is very much more comfortable. Now, this side of the world, it seems that we can't get this balance right. So we've got Djuma that is either cold or is extremely hot, and in the Mara it seems to be a similar situation, and they've had a few chilly days while we've had hot days. Now we've gone cold, and I believe that in that side of the world Taylor is saying that it is very warm. So let's jump across to her and her hot Mara.
I suppose that is true, isn't it, Tristan? I'm just trying to get my eyes used to this light at the moment. It's pretty bright. I'll put my hand up like that. At the moment, it's quite chilly. I took my jacket off because I was jumping around, so I got quite warm, but I'm going to have to put it back on again in a minute. Manu's all wrapped up. It's one of the colder mornings we've had in the Mara so far. There have not been many of them at all. So, which is quite nice. It's actually refreshing. I mean, even in the afternoons, they're hot, but they're not that hot. It's not Djuma heat. So I'm glad that I'm not going to be around at Djuma for December and January. And actually I'm missing February too, which is I'm pretty excited about, because that is the worst time of the year. It is so hot. It is unpleasant. It's not great. But anyways, when I am back in South Africa, I'll be on holiday, so I can catch some rays, maybe turn a darker shade of white. I'll go from being paler to just pale. I try not to go in the sun, but maybe we can change that this year. We're going to live a little. I haven't decided what we're going to do yet. I feel like I start my morning like this every single day going, I don't know what we're going to do. Let's see, we had hungry Angama lions, we had hungry sausage tree pride lions, but those sausage tree lions, you know, they're quite sneaky. They're forever giving me the slip, but they're nice because they're in an off-roading area. So maybe let's go and try and follow up on them. So we'll head down towards the bridge, towards Lion Island, where they were sleeping yesterday. And I reckon they would have moved up towards the escarpment, if anything, because I looked down below and I even scanned on the way home on the southern side of the main road. There was nothing, not a skerrick. So best bet probably would have been a buffalo or an eland or something that was up on the escarpment, which there are plenty of. I can't wait to turn right. I'm going to be so excited, so that I don't have to look into the sun anymore. Yeah, I'm free from the sun. Wonderful. Make sure there's no cars, and then off we go. Okay, well that's much better. Manu, what would you like to see today? Any requests? Serval. I don't know why I said serval. It's just a serval. Serval cat, there we go, not a serval cat. That would be quite nice to have a serval sighting during the day, actually. That would be really, really quite pleasant. How lucky we're going to be this morning, I'm not sure. Manu's normally my lucky charm. Every time we go out, we always see the most spectacular things. It's actually impressive, the luck that he has with nature. I go through phases. Sometimes it's great, and then most times it's not so great. But I don't mind. I get to do this and see all these amazing things and drive in the Mara or drive in the Sabi sand, so it's not too bad. That's pretty cool, in fact. So I'm just scanning. There's no animals today. No, well, you're wondering what makes me decide which direction to go on a drive. Whichever way the wind takes me, I suppose, especially in the Mara. We've got a bit of a sail, so sometimes you don't have a choice. We're a bit like hot air balloons every now and then. Of course, I'm just joking. You know, it depends on what we found the night before. You try and plan your trip like that, whether you will go and follow up on, say, lions that you had the night before, which is exactly what we're going to do now. I saw that they were hungry. I had 2 different sets of lions that I could follow up on. I mean, I could be making the wrong decision here, but my gut is saying you've got more chance of finding them in an off-road area and obviously having a close-up sighting, whereas with the Angamas it's always a bit of a gamble. Sometimes they start out in nice places, but they only stay there for 5 minutes, and then they go and lay 40 meters off one of the roads that you're on and in the flat grass, and you can't see anything. At least then you can get a little bit closer to the animals in the off-roading area, and because the camera is situated so high, you can actually look down onto them, which is nice. So that helps a little bit. Maybe you drive past somebody and they've said, oh my goodness, we were racing off towards a leopard sighting. We do that too. So we don't have game drive radios, or we do have game drive radios, but we don't use them. I don't use it because I don't speak Swahili, and that's pretty much what is spoken on the radio. So I would just hear the animal names, because you can learn them in Swahili. but I still wouldn't understand where anything was because I don't know the specific names of the areas. We know a couple of places, but we don't know them extensively like we know the Sabi sand. It's a lot easier. It's a smaller area that we drive around, so you can learn it much quicker. Yeah, it's difficult. And also everybody calls something different. You can speak to 6 different guides and every one of them has got a different name for the same place. I suppose it just depends what that particular lodge calls something. It's hard to sort of regulate such a massive area. Sabi sand is much easier. So that's sort of how we do it, I suppose. Or maybe you say, okay, cool, I'm going to go birding today. Then you know if you want to see good birds first thing in the morning, or depending what types of birds you're looking for, I would naturally want to head towards the forested area because there'll be an abundance of birds there. But if you're looking for birds that live out in grasslands, then you would go to an area that there's, you know, big open spaces. So I suppose it just depends. Now, if we wanted to find a serval, we're pretty much in serval country all the way around towards where the sausage tree pride are. Lots and lots of grass. There would be and little shrubs. Little shrubs are very important to have in a grassland because that's where you're going to find rodents and lizards and all types of things seeking shelter and seeking refuge. You might find, and even the termite mounds, because there'll be little natural cavities. You know, other animals have dug small cavities and they will utilize those as burrows. So it's important. What I'd love to do though, I haven't seen it yet because we don't walk, but when you're walking in the Sabi sands in the summer months and you can we're walking through all the long grass, it's quite cool to see the little mice and rat trails and finding their nests, except when a Mozambique spit-and cobra comes out of a sort of mouse nest. That's not fun. That's never nice. That's happened to me before, but I've told you that story way too many times. But yeah, what else have we got here? Our elephant herd is not even around this morning. Kirst, did you just hear what she just said to me? But okay, I'm going to do what Kirst said, and I'm going to send you all the way back to South Africa. Apparently, there is another tailor there, and she's also on safari.
Hi guys, my name's Taylor. So I decided that I would help Taylor out and I would dress up just like her in solidarity for her eye and hope that she'll have a situation where her eyes will get better. So I've also got my Ray-Bans on and I've got my golden flowing locks that are at the back here. Now they're a little bit spiky, so I need to get them a little shampoo and conditioner, but all is good, and so we're going to try and be in solidarity with Taylor. Of course, that's absolutely ridiculous. I can't see a thing because it's also overcast and these glasses are far too dark, and this grass is itching like crazy, and hopefully there's not any pepper ticks on them, because if there are pepper ticks, I'm about to have a very uncomfortable few weeks with my hair, and hopefully I won't have to shave it all off. Also, my hair seems to be falling out. As you can see, there's bits all over the place, although that's some that's sticking out from the back end. But there we go, Taylor. I did my best sort of impression of you, and hopefully your hair doesn't fall out like mine just did, but I'm trying to get rid of it because it is actually quite itchy for some reason. I hope that there's not any ticks on it, but there we go. I think we'll be alright from there. So, since we've last seen you, I haven't really done much other than try and get as sort of tailorish as I could be. I had the glasses, I got the hair, and I was trying to get the accent right, but Taylor has a difficult accent. She comes from the Eastern Cape, and she's got a little Eastern Cape kind of wording and way of speaking, and if you don't come from that area, a little tough to actually get it right. But there we go, that's me doing my best Taylor impression. Now hang on a second, it looks like some elephant dung. Maybe it's just for one ellie, but let's have a look at how fresh this is, because I haven't seen elephant dung for a while that looks even remotely fresh. Yes, that looks as though it was from last night. So on my right hand side is one ball of dung. Let's get rid of all of this grass that is hanging around. And there we go, and so that's done. Now the elephant dung that you see there, you can still see that it is very wet and moist in content. So this particular elephant probably was here in the early hours of this morning. It has formed a little bit of a crust on the outside already, so I would say not right now, but it was definitely at some point this morning, or early hours of this morning. You can also see that by just the size of the ball that this would generally be probably a young male. There's not too much other dung around here, and there is a drag mark for the trunk. Now I find that the males tend to do this a lot more than females. Of course, that's not scientifically proven, but I do find that they tend to do it a lot more. So Sense, if you can come out just a little bit for me. So you see just from the dung ball itself, there's a little line that comes through, and that's often from where their tip of their trunk drags along. So we're going to try and see if we can find this. I know there's a really large male elephant hanging around, the one that's got the collar that we've seen before with Steph. I think Steph saw him on walk, so we're going to try see if we can find him. And there you can see a few little insects crawling around. They'll be making use of the vegetation inside there, as well as a bit of the moisture as well. They often sequester moisture from dung and various other things. And now these are little winged insects. I'm not 100% sure what they are exactly, to be honest, but we'll have a little look and see. I would imagine they almost look as though they're part of the wasp family. There's a couple of the flies arriving now as well, so a couple of things will come and, like I say, sequester moisture off of this, as well as then feed off the vegetation inside there. And it's not quite the right time yet for lots of dung beetles, but dung beetles will get involved there. They like elephant dung, and the reason why is because, as you can see there's a lot of vegetation inside there, and therefore a great food source for their larvae. Once they deposit the egg and the larvae then hatches, it'll be able to feed off quite a lot of different food. You can also see that it is definitely an elephant. Have a look at the sort of vegetation inside there. There's a little few sticks as well as bits of grass and various other things. If it was something like a hippo, it would be all grass. Same with the rhino, they're grass eaters, unless it was a black rhino, in which case you would find pretty much more sticky content, and those sticks would be cut at a 45-degree angle, not like what we see here where it's just a random mass of all kinds of things. But encouraging signs nonetheless. Hopefully there will be an elephant somewhere in this general vicinity. We'll check up towards Tambuati Dam. Michael, you're wondering when can we expect to see dung beetles? Well, I've seen a few already. The last rains that we had a few of them out and about and moving around. But normally after the really big kind of rains start, so once we get a bit more vegetation and we start to get a proper amount of water, then we'll find that the dung beetles will start emerging and start coming out and flying. Now, what are you guys? There's some Egyptian geese that are just flying over. I was hoping to see some of the knob-billed ducks. There go the Egyptian geese, because the knob-billed ducks should be arriving back, as well as the white-faced whistling ducks. They should also be back fairly shortly. And it's amazing to be out at this time of the year, because we have a situation where we've got a number of birds arriving. It's almost like a potluck every day as to what migratory bird we can find next. So I wonder which one it will be. I mean, we've had some cool ones on camera already. The grey-headed kingfisher yesterday was really nice, and we've seen a few of the cuckoos, heard a lot of the cuckoos. So I wonder which birds you guys would like to see next. Maybe you can let us know, #SafariLife or YouTube chat, if you want to. Which migratory bird would you like to see? I know one person in particular is dying to see a classes cuckoo. So James, don't worry, I'm on it. I'm listening for your classes cuckoo. I know it's a bogey bird for you, so we will be looking for that also, just because the classes cuckoo is absolutely beautiful. But if any of the others have any requests as to a migratory bird that you haven't seen, like I say, maybe we can try and find them on this morning's drive. It seems like a plausible idea and something that we can do. I definitely think we can try it out. Now it seems as though there's a little rain encroaching. I'm hoping that it's going to go away. I don't really want to be rained on. I'm quite fine with rain outside of safari times. I really don't mind rain at all when it's at night or during the day, but when we're on drive, I must be honest, I'm a fair weather fella when we're driving around. I'm not too into being rained upon. It just gets uncomfortable and it gets cold and it gets a bit miserable, and generally the sightings of animals becomes quite tough when it's raining. So I prefer the rain at night, and then waking up to a fresh clean start, sun rising over a wet kind of landscape is often the best kind of thing to do. Now I want to just quickly check one area that very seldom gets checked. It's a place that, because of the fact that it's a dead end, no one really goes down there. It's an area that people spend very little time because of its sort of road that goes to nowhere, and they have to turn around and come back. But I find that a lot of animals move around here, so I want to just quickly go and check to the old hyena den that is off Mvubu Road. Ultimately, I haven't been here in probably over a month, so I want to just come and check down here. I find that it's an area where a number of our leopards have sneaked about and you don't even know that they're here. I remember Mvula, Shongile, Tandi all together, or what I thought was Tandi. I mean, there's a third leopard. Who it was, we can't be 100% sure. And then also we find that the lions often use this as a sort of thoroughfare. So Tambuti Dam is north of us, Gowrie Dam south of us, and therefore they can kind of go north-south between those areas and up into Buffelshoek and then down south towards Twin Dams and then down to Little Gowrie. So it's a perfect little track that they have. It's part of the running track, as Louise calls it. This is the Djuma gym, and our lions love to use the Djuma gym. They like to walk around here all night and make a lot of noise, and then when they get to this side they kind of run through and then they go somewhere else. So hopefully we might catch one of them on their morning little escapade through the Djuma gym and as they head north or south. So far though, no more sort of audio for them as to where they may have roared from. Birmingham boys tend to be all over the place, so it could have been really any direction. Like I say, I didn't get a proper direction. I just heard them, and then I thought maybe I didn't hear them, and then I spoke to Noelle. She also heard them, so they definitely did call somewhere around, just have no idea where. Now the old hyena den that I was referring to is this one here, and it's such a cool den. I really wish they would come back to it at some point, or something would use it. Maybe imagine wild dogs at this den, that would be quite cool. But it is a really nice den, I like it. It's got lots of tambuti trees all around. It looks almost like a castle. It's got very tall, nice big holes on there that they can go into. And I just like the area really. I think it's just a pretty place for a den to be in. So I was hoping that one day the hyenas will come back to it. I suppose they've been to a lot of the other dens over the time that I've been here, and so maybe this is the next one that will be on the list. Right, nothing at our dead end that I can see. I'm just going to do a little scratch around and see if there is anything around and whether there's some tracks that I can work with. While we do that, let's go back to Taylor McCurdy as she bumbles around, and let's see who wore the hair better.
Tristan, I wish you luck on your adventure, because I'm actually a nice person and I'm going to be nice to you today instead of teasing you. That was a lie. I'll never let you get away trying to mock me with my hair. Also, my hair does not look like grass, so you didn't look anything like me. No. I'm trying to find the Sausage Tree Pride. We're in the area where they were last night, and then I'm going to stop quickly so I have a scan. Then what I did find on the road was this thing. How beautiful is that? It's the porcupine quill. We actually... Oh, what is that? Can you hear that, Manu? Is it coming from there? Must be because we're downwind. Sorry, I can hear buffalo distressing. It stopped, but I just want to have... I'm just wondering though, maybe those lions have gone to catch a buffalo. Let's go round very quickly. We would have seen something though, that's the only thing. Let's poke our nose up here. Sorry, so I had a porcupine quill, but because I've heard that bellowing sound, I think let's go and investigate quickly. So we're just going to climb up onto the top of this peak and scan. I did have a look when we came around, and I didn't see anything on the escarpment. Manu didn't see anything, and Manu spots things from miles away. But sometimes that Sausage Tree Pride goes into that forest. I can see buffalo just sitting in the grass. They don't look like they're being attacked by anything. Just going to see if I can hear that sound again, so I'm just going to sit quietly for a moment. No, I can't hear it. Which is now making me think what could have also happened is it could have just been two buffalo bulls having a little bit of a tussle somewhere in the forest, and that sound was just sort of echoing down because it was like a... And I heard that twice. It also didn't sound anything like the sound that I just made. See, there are more buffalo on the top, just on the other side of the forest. So something could have been happening there, and we would have heard that sound. The wind is crazy today, and like I said, we're downwind. Actually, that makes more sense. Maybe it was a... Yeah, okay, so I don't think it was the lions killing anything. I think it could have been something happening up there with those buffalo, and those are the sounds we're hearing. False alarm! False alarm! So I don't know where that porcupine is now, but it shed a few quills. I looked on the ground to see if I could see any tracks, you know, if there was maybe a story to tell in the sand, but there wasn't. There was just porcupine tracks. I couldn't see any predator footprints whatsoever. Oh, is this another road? Take this one. So I think I'm going to try and guess. I'm pretty sure those... Is that them? Gotcha! Manu, where the balloon is in the distance, to the bottom left, I can see two heads sticking out of the ground. They're the lions! They're probably going, we've been spotted. How great is that? My vision is improving. I'm actually stopped spotting rocks now, which is pretty cool. But they're quite far away from us. How far away do you think that is, Manu?
Maybe
that's
100 meters.
Yeah, almost a kilometer away. Between 800 meters and a kilometer. That's pretty impressive. I'm impressed. All I could see, though, is just little white specks. They could have also been Thompson's gazelle, but they're not. Thank goodness they're lions. Okay, shall we go closer? I wonder if they also didn't hear that sound, that noise, because they're looking in this direction, sort of like, what's going on? I don't think they really care too much about us, because every time I've arrived in a sighting with a sausage tree pride lion, they don't seem to mind at all. Okay, let's get there. Okay, well, that means they haven't, I don't think they would have hunted. It doesn't look like they were feeding. I suppose I can't, how can I say something like that? That's horrific, Taylor. You're not even there yet. Now, as we drive around there, that's so bright. William, you're wondering why there aren't any large termite mounds over here. Well, I suppose it's because it's a different species of termite. These are not large fungus-growing termites. I've seen them. They're really small. They look more like a harvester termite, but slightly longer body. So not like the tiny little harvesters that, and not the big harvesters that make their nests in the ground below the surface. There's another smaller species. It's something in between. I don't have my book on insects here, but what I can do is maybe when we stop, we've got relatively good signal here. I will pull up the different types of termite species in Africa, and we'll have a look and we'll try and figure out what they are. So it just depends on the type of termite that it is. Some build massive mounds, the large fungus-growing termites being the best example of it. And then, of course, when you get the harvester termites that the Matabele ants like to raid those particular nests, they live underground. They don't make a top mound whatsoever. But they're not big. They're quite small. But something in between a harvester and the really small harvesters, the big ones and the small ones. Okay, let's get to these lions. They're almost there. I'm blocking the sun out. Actually, let me see if I can show you some of these termites, because there's some new little chimneys that have been developed, but it's pretty cold. No one's home. Sorry, I'm staring down into a chimney, but I was going to quickly grab one for you. I'll try and do that. I'll see if I can find a termite and put it on my hand and show you at some point today. Maybe when it warms up a little bit, some of them will head to the tops of the chimneys. Hi, lions. You haven't really moved at all, have you? Oh, they really aren't interested in us at all. Just want to watch them as we approach. I'm also going to block the sun out, not on the lions, but on myself. Hello, lions. Still hungry? Yeah, you still look hungry. This is kind of good news for us, though. So for those of you who are new and maybe it is your first time watching Safari Live, this is a pride of lions known as the Sausage Tree Pride of Lions. It's the smaller group, which consists of 2 adult lionesses and then 4 youngsters, sort of ages, but the little ones are maybe just under 6 months and the older ones are between 6 months and a year. I would say about 8 or 9 months or so, somewhere around there. But they're both sets of cubs are still suckling, even the older ones, even though they should theoretically be weaned, because there is one lioness that's still producing milk for the youngsters. They go and suckle there often. And this is quite cool. And you can ask us questions, which is fantastic. And hopefully you do. Remember, hashtagging Safari Live on Twitter, or of course the YouTube chat is also available. But they look a bit chilly. See how they're all huddled up at the moment, trying to use each other for body warmth. Now, Becca, you're wondering, what is the size of a typical Mara pride? So I have yet to see the Black Rock pride. From my understanding, it's quite a large pride with all those cubs. I would say about 4 or 5 lioness and their offspring. So if you count their offspring, I would say it's not uncommon to see anywhere between 10 and 15. Oh, it's hippos that are making that noise. Sorry, I can hear it again. There are hippos having an argument somewhere, and I think maybe the wind was swirling and that's what we picked up. Sorry, so it wasn't a buffalo. So anywhere between 10 and 15 lions is pretty common, and again, the bulk of it will probably be made up of youngsters. Whether they'll all make it to adulthood, sadly, probably unlikely. But this is a smaller pride, but we think that they've broken away from a bigger pride. The prides get so big here. It's not really sustainable to be so large, especially when the prey all disappears and there's not really much left around. Sometimes it's easier just to break up into a smaller little group and just sustain yourself. And I think that's exactly what's happened here. We see that a lot. Actually, in the triangle, there's a lot of just sort of pairs of lioness around in the area. We've seen those 2 girls that like to hang around at the marsh. There's another 2 females that hang around near Little Governors. So there's no shortage. But let's go across to Johnny Bravo this morning. Hopefully he's done his hair and he's looking sharp. It seems as though he's got 2 different cat sightings in one.
Oh, Lord. Yes, we do indeed. And as you can see, there is a big male lion chasing off a cheetah. Off they go. Let's see what happens here. Oh! Now, as you can see, the cheetah has got no problem escaping the lion. As quick as lions are, even the big males can move very quickly. Not quite fast enough for the cheetah. Interestingly, this cheetah is not alone. And I'm not sure how this whole situation's panned out. We've just arrived here, but basically there is another cheetah lying down very close to our vehicle over here. So the 2 of them were together. I'm not too sure who they are. The fact that there's 2 of them together means it's either possibly 2 sisters or maybe a male and a female. Who knows? Possibly this is one of the musketeer males. I just haven't had a good enough look, and I cannot be certain whether it's a male or a female just yet. But I'm not sure why one cheetah got chased away and the other's just lying here casually. The lion literally ran about 30 meters past this one while it pursued the other. So let's take another look. This lion's still quite stupidly pursuing this cheetah because it's got no chance of catching it, and now that the cheetah knows that it's there, it's just going to be toing and froing. As you can see, the cheetah's just lying down there now, taunting the lion. And let's see how much the cheetah backs itself. Let's see how long it's going to take before it decides it's time to flee. What a scene. Lion, cheetah, vulture in the background. Beautiful. Seems like this male has finally realized what's good for him, and that is to leave this cheetah alone. It's only the second time that I've seen lion interacting with cheetah here, and it's fascinating how relaxed the cheetah are. They really do back themselves. Very good. Well, a great start to the morning. We are in the general area of where we left the Musketeer Coalition last night. They headed off in an easterly direction, and on our way to try and go and look for them, we got a report that this was happening here, which was quite interesting. So we obviously thought we'd come in and investigate, try and work out who these cheetah are, and of course see what happens with the lion that was chasing them. I've got a feeling that this lion could be one that was mating with another lioness in this area yesterday, so maybe he's going to return to her, since he's realized that the cheetah are too quick for him. I'm really interested to know who these cheetah are. Hello, Agent, you would like to know if the lion would kill the cheetah if it was lucky enough to catch it, and yes, it certainly would. That is what the lion was trying to do. No two ways about that. And all the big cats will compete fiercely amongst one another. Sadly for the cheetah, they are at the bottom of the big cat food chain. So both lion and leopard will and do fairly often try to catch and kill cheetah. Morning. Very, very good. Thankfully, though, for an adult cheetah, it would be very unfortunate, especially in a habitat like this, to actually be caught out by a lion, because it's so well suited to cheetah in that it's very open. So it's going to be incredibly difficult for lion to sneak up on cheetah and successfully catch them, but it certainly does happen from time to time. There have even been some incredible scenes of leopards with both a cheetah up a tree draped over a branch, as well as the cheetah's kill. And what you could imagine happening is a leopard lying secretively, as they do, up in a tree or in a thicket, sees a cheetah make a kill nearby, and then it stalks up to that cheetah while the cheetah has its head down feeding, and then it kills kills the cheetah and then steals its food. So that has been documented on a number of occasions. I just want to reposition and see if this is a male or a female cheetah. And the easiest way for somebody like me to do that is to look between their back legs or behind their back legs. Who is this? It's a very well-fed cheetah, that's certain, so we're not from it today. Let's have a stop here. It's going to be tricky. Oh, no, it's not going to be tricky at all. Well, that is definitely a female. And unless the other one is a male, I'm guessing, which it could be, I'm guessing that this is possibly two sisters that hang out together. Or who knows, there is actually a female that's been seen fairly recently with a younger, well, not a younger, just a young sub-adult male. So I'm wondering if this is her. I must get a hold of the cheetah researcher and let her know where we are, and she'll be able to help us work out who's who here, which will be interesting. Very good. Well, I hope you've been having a fun safari with Taylor and Tristan, Poppy and and we've had some trouble with our radio. For some reason it only seems to work when the vehicle is off, which is a bit strange. Hello Cheryl, you would like to know what are these flowers surrounding the cheetah, and they've got two names, one of which is horrendous, called the toilet paper flower, and I couldn't think of a worse name to describe a flower, and the fact that it's been given this name because people leave their toilet paper lying around the bush and the two can be confused is quite upsetting. So we're not going to use the toilet paper flower name. Their official name is an ink flay flower, and it's quite an interesting name because it's certainly not an inky color, and we're not in a flay here. A flay is kind of like a swamp, for those of you who don't know, and we're going to rush you off to Tristan, who's found something interesting.
We do indeed. We have one of my favorite families of birds, which is an owl. It is a pearl-spotted owlet that is tucked up against the branch and is against a very white sky, which is making it quite difficult at first to identify, or at least know what it was. But it is looking very, very chilly as well. It's all kind of puffed up and taking it easy and watching what's going on. Now, the reason why I know it's a pearl-spotted owlet is if you look on its sort of front area, you can see that it's got these kind of stripy little patterns that come down. It's also got a lot more spots on its head. You'll find the barred owlet, which looks very similar, has these kind of radiating lines that go out from the eye to the sort of outside of the head. And also if it turns its face, because at the moment it's only got its face kind of facing off to the north, but if it keeps turning, you'll see little black and white sort of spots on the back of the head, which gives it away immediately. Those false eyes are the only ones that, or they're the only ones that have that false eye, so it's pretty easy once you see them turning to know that it's little pearl-spotted owlets. Now I would imagine that this little owl, they are quite active at dawn and dusk. They do hunt quite a lot at that time, so I'd imagine that this little owl might still be quite active now, and then it's going to find a place to rest. Where it is quite right now would be not too bad. You can see it actually camouflages incredibly well. It really does look as though it's part of the tree when you are further away. It's only because it moved a little bit that we noticed it. It's almost part of the tree when it just sits dead still. It kind of looks just like a leaf or a little branch that kind of pokes off. So you've got to really look for them. And that means that a lot of other animals will easily overlook them and not disturb them. You can see as we go back, I mean, that's still a very zoomed in view in comparison to what we've had. Becca, an owl's primary prey, it depends on the owl species. So this little pearl-spotted is a big hunter of birds. They go after a lot of the small passerines, so they'll go after things like waxbills, firefinches, manakins, those kind of things. And then you'll find that also rodents, so elephant shrews, mice, those kind of things would also be high up on the menu. Now you see it's kind of just twitching around and trying to find a place to sit. I think eventually it's going to get into a situation where it's going to be right up a branch that it can then camouflage. Since it's gotten quite high, you won't be able to get view of it. So it's at least it's disappeared a little bit. I'm going to just try to roll forward and see. Oh, no, we're not going to be able to see it in there. It's right in a deep, thick area, and I don't think Senzo is going to be able to point the camera right up. But that was very cool to see. Nice to see an owl. They really are some of my favorite, like I said, favorite family of birds. I always enjoy seeing them. They got so many interesting little things about owls that they always a treat to see them. Now this little pearl spotted must live around here, because I actually have had 3 or 4 sightings of pearl spotteds between these 2 jackalberries here, and so I wonder if there's not a little nest somewhere for these pearl spotted owlets, and that's why it hangs around in this section. They do have areas that they'll stay in. So if you're around Ingers, which is where we live, it's a little house away from the DRC, which is where the rest of the crew lives. In that garden we've got 2 of the scops owls and 2 pearl spotted and 2 barred owlet. Well, so it's a pair of each that all live in the garden, and they're there every day. You can hear them every night, every morning. It really is quite cool to listen to the 3 different owls as they kind of compete for airtime, so to speak, and talk. Ooh, Harper, this is a difficult one. You want to know what my favorite bird is to spot? Well, I think anything that's incredibly rare gets birders excited. So, you know, when you see a new bird in an area, that's always the best thing. But in terms of birds that we see and that, you know, we know very well, and my favorite bird that I like to see, that would be a crowned eagle. I absolutely love crowned eagles. They are the most incredible animals. Massive big talons. They also look really hardcore. I don't know why I say that, but they do. For me, they kind of look as though they've got this angry face, and they've got these incredible markings, lots of little like black patches, this rusty coloration on them, barred tail. So I really like them for that reason, and the other reason is just the incredible power that they possess. They're much like harpy eagles in that way. They've got massive long talons and seriously powerful, and they'll go after a lot of small mammals. So you'll see them hunting things like monkeys a lot of the time, duiker, steenbok, those kind of things would all be on the menu. Now unfortunately in this area we very seldom see crowned eagles, and that's because we're in a situation where it's not really forested enough, so we don't see them enough because we don't really have the best habitat for them. Although you should be able to see them every now and then, maybe on the Mulawati riverbed. I have seen one in the Mulawati and Little Gowrie before, and then to our west on the Manyaleti riverbed, I've seen them there quite a few times as well. So that's my favorite bird to spot that we get out and about in this area. It's not a common one, but it does get seen every now and then. Now there is also, talking about carnivores and birds of prey and what they like to eat, I'm sure a crowned eagle would take one of these little dwarf mongoose if it could. It might be a bit of a snack for it, but most certainly would be something that they would go after. There's a whole bunch of them that is all kind of scattered around underneath these trees and running around in the trees itself. So maybe since just come down, they're all here on the right. There you go, you can see them. Nice, there we go, Senzo. So Senzo's plotting different ones to me. They spread out all over the place. It's that time of the morning where they've come out of their little tunnels and chambers and termite mounds, and they're now off hunting. So they're going to be looking for all kinds of food. You'll find that these guys will go along, and a lot of the time you'll see them kind of head down and then digging up. They'll use their little feet and claws to try and get to scorpions, beetle larvae, all of those kind of things as they go. Now there's a whole bunch of red-billed quellias that have also just arrived, so they've all landed in the tree itself. Now these red-billed quellias have also a migratory species. They're intra-Africa migrants, so we don't see too much of them in the winter months, and they come back here in the summer, and that's what brings a lot of the wahlbergs, the lesser spotted eagles. They all come because they want to hunt these little birds, and you'll find them in large flocks like this. Here at Djuma we don't get the massive groupings like we would get in other parts of Africa. I mean, there really are amazing murmurations of these in some areas where it looks as though they can black out the sun with the amount of them that there is. It really is amazing to watch. So here, unfortunately, we don't get quite as bigger groupings, but we still get little ones like this, and it's always entertaining to watch them as they flutter about in their small little flocks and make quite a bit of noise and lots of movement to the bush as well. But our little dwarf mongoose are still also playing around. Sorry, since I distracted you there with birds, it's a problem. I have squirrel syndrome where when I see birds I kind of have to point them out and look at them. It's the way things go. But the little dwarf mongoose are still kind of running around on my right hand side. They're still moving and still kind of taking it easy. I love the way that they run though. They entertain me with their little bounding motion. It's kind of got the coolest little sort of lope. They remind me of otters in that way. Otters also have this very cool gait where they sort of bounce their back end and sort of run along and try and kind of catch up with each other. It's always quite entertaining. Oh, goodness gracious me. It sounds like Taylor McCurdy, who apparently was going to be nice to me, which we all knew was not going to happen, is now going to try and poke fun at me, and I believe that I need to link across to my very self.
We've got the elephants that are approaching some lions. Well, I don't know why I'm speaking in such a girl's voice. Eh? Sometimes I just think, I like to rip Taylor off. Hi guys, I'm Tristan. I'm one of the safari live guides, and it's so great to be out here in the Mara. Finally, I've got my chance to be here, and it's very nice, it's very windy. Like Taylor said, she's always right. Do I win now? Do I win? I also don't know how I'm going to take my beard off. Okay, let me drive to the lions here quickly. You don't know what I just did, where I just stuck my hands to make my face look like this either. I'm a bit worried. But what I am going to do is cursed. Can anyone still hear me? Are you getting comms? I can't hear anybody. I just heard. Yeah, I'm checking it. Ah, there you go. Now I can hear everybody. Whew! I thought for a minute that these lions are going to come and, the elephants are going to come and chase the lions, and then I thought I was going to have to do a Facebook Live with my beard, which would have been disastrous. Can you imagine? This is the only time I've ever wished that animals didn't come this way, because that is going to be horribly embarrassing. Oh, we can't do Facebook Lives yet. Sorry. Okay, sorry, Chris. I thought I read that email wrong. Anyways, but how cool is this to have elephants, and that's a big girl, walking just behind the lions. They haven't realized that there are lions just sitting a little way from them. Otherwise, they'd be freaking out, I reckon. And not that there's any really small elephant calves within this herd. So it would just be a chase. It wouldn't be I'm fearing for my baby's life type of thing, which elephants do often. Oh, no, hang on. Look at that behavior change. See how she's twisted her trunk? I think the wind blow. Look at her tail. See how her tail's raised away from her body? I think she has just realized that there is a predator nearby. Let's see what she does if she's going to go around. This girl's been around forever. Yes. She's seen them now. She smelt them. She saw them. Let's see what her reaction's going to be. Like I said, there's no need for them to go charging towards them because there's no young elephants, and these lions are not going to be interested. However, the tables might turn because the lionesses have got young cubs that they'll also want to protect. So maybe we're going to get some growling, although most of the time with elephants and lions, the lions will just get up and run away because they know where they stand. I'm now attracting the flies with all the mud that I have on my face. Actually, it's quite nice. I might leave it on for the whole drive. I might go back and put some more on because I feel like my skin's going really nice and tight, and this is what it must feel like for the elephants. Maybe this is how the elephants get rid of their wrinkles, is by lathering themselves with mud. Who knows? Well, we know why they cover themselves in mud, but I'm just thinking my skin is nice and taut. Very cool. She doesn't seem too bothered, but she could also pretend to feed towards him. She is eating now, though, so she's theoretically relaxed, but we know what elephants do. Yeah, look, she's creeping closer and closer. Just feeling around. I'm actually freezing now. I'm going to put my jacket on while I sit here. I do apologize for the noise. The wind is sending a chill down my spine, and I always think I'm brave when I wear shorts on a safari. But all the lions are watching closely because they know if she comes charging towards them, she's going to come at quite a speed, and they're all going to have to get out of the way. Otherwise, they'll end up being squashed, which is what we don't want, and I don't think they want that either. No, elephants decided to take the high road this morning and leave the lions alone and not disturb them. And I'm sure that those cats are very happy. Oh, hang on. Turning back just to have a look to make sure. That's a really nice sighting. It's always really cool to see two of the big five in one sighting, and especially something like elephants. Well, they're my favorite animal, but that was an old girl. Well done, lions. You didn't panic. And if they'd got up and run as well, it could have enticed that elephant to chase them too. Now, Michael, you're wondering, how often do lions in the Mara attempt to hunt? As often as they need and whenever there's an opportunity. So obviously last night there was no opportunity for these lions. I did say that I'd scanned around and there was absolutely no prey barring one reedbuck, which was alarming, and really knew that the lions were there. So they've maybe moved 200 meters since we saw them last night, so they've barely gone anywhere. And I think what they're hoping is, with there not being much prey around last night, is that the warthogs are going to come out during the day. They often hunt warthogs, or attempt to hunt warthogs in this area. And I haven't seen any just yet, but it's still quite chilly, so they could have also had a bit of a late start. And we'll keep our eyes open for any unsuspecting prey. They are hungry, though. I mean, you heard it last night when those little cubs were suckling. I mean, they were desperate. Their bellies were empty. And Go Dog, you're wondering how long can a lion go without eating? Actually, quite a bit of time. A lot longer than I'd be able to last without having food. So the longest I've seen lions go without food, it was actually some lions down in the Eastern Cape. And it was almost 2 weeks. It must have been about between, I don't know, 9 and 14 days. It was a long time. They were thin. You could count every vertebrae on their body. You could count every rib. And it's not that they weren't trying. They definitely were. And there's no shortage of food in that particular area. The odds just were against them, and the girls couldn't do it. And then one day, these two lionesses chased a zebra down in a valley, quite a narrow valley, and I think the zebra had slipped because you'd had a lot of rain, and I always talk about how muddy it is in the Eastern Cape, and then that's how they managed to catch the zebra. So even though they were completely they were emaciated, it was really not pleasant to look at. They looked like they were on their last legs, and at one point the guides were worried. They were saying, are these cats going to make it? And we didn't want to intervene because we want to keep it as, of course, wild as possible, but then some were saying no, we should, but we left it, and I'm glad that we decided to leave it and just let it all play out. They managed, and then they were fine, and then they were back to being the top dogs again on the property and catching things left, right, and centre. So sometimes that does happen where they just, they try their absolute best, they don't succeed time and time again, and it must be so rewarding for them to eventually bring something down. I mean, can you imagine not eating for 8 or 9 days and then finally getting a meal? I mean, you would stuff your face. It probably wouldn't be very good for you to stuff your face. You probably have to eat slowly, but lions don't know that. They just gorge themselves all the time. They know they need to have meat in their bellies, as regularly as possible, especially when you've got young cubs. And they did have cubs too. So the little ones were suffering probably the most, more so than the adults, because when you're that age, you're doubling in size. Manu, can you see that bird that's using the wind to hover? So I'm going to draw your attention away from the lions very quickly. I just want to see what have we got? Is it the pallid harrier again? I'm just trying to have a look on my screen. It's a bit dark at the moment. Or no, you're not. You're a black-shouldered kite. Very cool. So an amazing bird. Hovering. Now they don't actually... Is it a black-shouldered kite? It's so difficult to see. It does look like one. Can someone confirm that it's a black-shouldered kite? Because for some reason I can't see very well on my screen. It's about the size of one. And it's behaving like one. Yes, it is. And they don't need the wind at all. But it is using the wind today. They can do the backpedaling motion with their wings just like a pied kingfisher. And we only have 2 species of true hovering birds. Flying straight over the top of the lions, off it goes. Oh, that was nice. Very, very, very cool to see that. Obviously, no luck with a rat or a mouse there. Well, the lions were watching it. I thought that the young cubs would have been very entertained by that, but they seem to be exhausted, and I'm sure they're hungry and miserable and cold. They're not wanting to play around and waste any energy. So they'll probably just sit here and groom themselves until the adults spot something. They do look like they're waking up slightly, though. Of course, Mom's now grooming some of the youngsters. The adults are doing big yawns. Hopefully they are going to go and scan. I'm looking. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? Hopefully they find a meal in a little while. We'll stick here for a bit longer. Let's go into Scott's car. It sounds like he's got some wrestling animals.
Look at this. What a fascinating scene. A cheetah sleeping happily in and amongst some flowers with the lioness about 50 meters away, doing the same thing. Absolutely crazy. So, I think this confirms that the male that chased the one cheetah was in fact mating with this lady. They maybe have come to the end of their 3 to 5 day session. And all is calm and peaceful for now. Obviously, that could change at any point in time. I'm not sure where the big male lions disappeared off to, but we're going to hang around here. Excuse me. And wait for the cheetah researcher to get you. She was very excited when she heard that we had 2 cheetah here. So she's going to come out and tell us who they are, which will be interesting to know. If it is the 2 sisters, it'll be fascinating how far they've moved. I mean, they've been spending a lot of time around the marsh, which is about 20 miles away from here, I'd say. Maybe 15 to 20 miles as the crow flies. So they're moving around, possibly, and maybe also looking for a boyfriend. Or 2. There's two of the sisters, so maybe they would like 1 boyfriend each. The other cheetah's still lying up behind the vehicle. We were not going to be able to show it to you. It's probably about 200 meters away. And they were very content. It's had a good snack, so I don't think we're going to be seeing too much, if any, hunting from them. But what we may see is this lioness chase this cheetah, and it'll just be nice to work out who they are. And then once we've done that, we'll probably head off and see if we can't work out where the Musketeer Coalition ended up last night. We can show you where they were from where we are here now, kind of at 1 o'clock up on the ridge, somewhere up in that direction where that car's driving is almost exactly where the cheetah moved. The cheetah were actually walking along that same road last night, and then you would have remembered them scent marking on that balanites tree, the main big tree there, and then they headed off and hunted something. We weren't sure what. It was just too dark for us to tell, and they were too far away, and we decided to then leave them, because the cameras we are using at the moment aren't the same as the ones we had for a couple of months during the TV shows. They're not as effective after dark, sadly. So you have to be very close to the animals to film them, and we don't want to interfere in any way. So that's where the musketeers headed off last night, and now these two cheetah are basically in the same area. And the musketeers were actually calling, at least one of them was calling yesterday afternoon, and who knows, maybe it was trying to respond to calls from these females. Only time will tell, but it seems like this is good prospects for my final Masai Mara wish to come true, and that would be to see the Musketeer Coalition come across other cheetah. Ideally female. I'd prefer it to be a love-making session than as opposed to a war between the 5 males and any other males that they will do their best to chase off. And I'm sure because there are so many of them, whoever they come across, they are not going to have a hard time getting rid of. There's rumors of, I mean, it's not rumors, but there's speculation that they have already killed a male in the last month or so. But nobody actually saw that happen, and I think it's a little bit of guesswork done by the researchers, you know, relating, well, they would have used the GPS coordinates of the cheetah. But I think it would be unfair or unwise to just presume something happens, because there are just so many variables and animals that can kill cheetah. It's not only cheetah that will kill other males that are getting in their way. Lions, leopards, hyena, bad luck, they could get hurt making a kill. So it's unconfirmed, but definitely a possibility. Hi Becca, good to have you on safari with us. You would like to know if cheetah would kill lion cubs if they came across them. And yes, I'm guessing they would. I've never actually seen footage of it happening, but I'm fairly certain that that would be the case. I wonder how long the scene is going to remain like this. I mean, the fact that there's a lioness and a cheetah lying so casually, so close to one another is just bizarre. And I'm guessing it is going to change at some point. Just been chatting with some guests and donors who actually contribute to the cheetah research here in the Mara. Sounded like a German couple, and interestingly they've told me they've just got permission from the Kenyan government to start up a leopard research project here in the Mara, and I think that's going to be next year. So exciting prospects, and wonderful that people are taking it upon themselves and their own wallet to try and help conserve the animals of Africa. Very good news. It'll also help us work out a bit more about the leopard in this area, who's who, how many they are, and we can work together, which will be very useful. Hello Sky, you'd like to know if these two cats know that they're actually so close to one another. And I don't think they do, interestingly enough. This cheetah over here, the male lion ran off to the left of it, chasing the other cheetah. So that cheetah definitely saw the male lion, but I don't think it saw the female moving into that area and lying down, and I also don't think the lioness knows that there's still a cheetah here. So thanks for asking that question. I should have pointed that out. So yeah, in my opinion, they've got no idea that they're here, because if this cheetah did know there was a lion so close by, it would definitely be facing in its direction, just to keep an eye on it. Ah, well, there's some wonderful news coming from Taylor's vehicle. Her lions are up and mobile, and so are you.
Finally, I thought that they was going to rest, but thankfully they weren't teasing us by yawning and grooming one another. They eventually got up. It was pretty amazing to see these lionesses, though, as they sit here. They literally did a scan 360 degrees around themselves to see if they could spot something. They looked up on the escarpment for quite some time, staring around, and then they looked back around down to the south towards the Mara River. And they haven't seen anything yet. However, they might smell those buffalo that we saw earlier when I thought that there was a buffalo distressing, which it wasn't, it was the hippos, because we're downwind of them. So that could be a possibility. But look at the focus on this lioness's face. She really is trying to find something. And I'm also trying to see if I can find anything in the grass. I have yet to see. There's a couple of giraffe, the elephants, but everything is very, very far away. Not that they would typically be wanting to go after something like a giraffe, although I have seen them stalk before, but they were young giraffe. I didn't see any young giraffe, I can just see adults, but they're exceptionally far away. I mean, ideally, they want a warthog, they want an antelope of some sort, maybe they want a topi. That would be a good one, that would be a nice meal for them, in fact. Zebra. But neither of those animals are around at the moment, so they are probably going to have to go on a bit of a walkabout and move to another area to try and find something suitable. Well, she's just going back to the cubs, but they are very, very hungry. Look how lean they are. I'm going to go and say hello, and off they go. Now this is where the fun part starts. Now, Lorne, you're wondering if lions ever abandon their cubs. I'm sure it does happen. However, I don't think a lion would want to do something like that. Perhaps if it was a young, inexperienced mother, that could definitely occur. I have seen it where lions, unfortunately, have lost cubs because they've just been away for so long trying to hunt, and then they hadn't come back often enough to suckle because they had nothing for the youngsters to drink, and then cubs have died that way. But that wasn't on purpose. I mean, they're trying their absolute best. So no, I don't think they do it intentionally. If the cubs are maybe very, very sick, maybe they sense that there's something wrong with them, that could happen. But I don't think it's particularly common. If I see, I'm trying to figure out what they are going to look for. Where are they looking? They're looking quite far away. I'm actually going to get my binoculars out quickly and also have a scan down in the distance, see if I can pick up on anything. You see, ideally, it would be good if I could figure out what they're going to go for, if there is anything in the grass, because then we can strategically maneuver about and try and find a really good spot where we're not going to intervene within the hunt. So we will be keeping our distance as we follow them, and we'll probably try and stay behind there because I don't want to flush anything out of the grass, especially if they've seen it. Their eyesight and their senses are just so much better than mine. I could quite easily miss a warthog feeding in the long grass, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to wreck the chances of these lions potentially taking down something. But we'll just keep scanning about. Normally when they go hunt warthogs, they always go off to the right. There's quite a few. I think there's a few burrowing sites across this lugger. And lions are creatures of habits. They tend to do the same thing over and over again. And maybe we get lucky. As long as they stay here, that's fine. It's so nice and open. Grass is a little bit long, but that's good for them. But if they also hunt in the direction that they're staring, the animals are going to smell them because the wind is drifting straight down that way. So, if they want to use the wind, which is the best chance they'll have when it comes to hunting, they need to actually come towards where we are and go towards the area of those buffalo. There were some zebra and we saw some buffalo on the other side of the forest, but I think that's a bit too far away. I don't know whether they would walk that distance right now. They could, but I don't think they can see them from here, and I think it might be a bit too far away for them to sort of pick up their scent. I think they're hoping that something is just going to pop up nearby. I feel a bit sad for lions sometimes. They try their absolute best, and then nature, I suppose, is just against them. Just like we have good days on safari and we see lots of things, animals out here have good days and bad days too. Sometimes the conditions are perfect for them, other times they're a little bit more difficult, but that's why lions are so successful, and a lot of the predators are, because they're able to adapt so easily to their surroundings. And the little ones are just staying. How long these youngsters are going to stay put for, I'm not sure. We know that they have a tendency to follow the adults around. Right, we're definitely going to sit here. I think this could be quite exciting as the drive progresses. I'm going to send you across to my big sister, Tristan, in the Sabi sand.
Yes, little Taylor. Now I'm interested to know how Taylor's going to get all of that mud off of her face and is going to look a little bit more like a girl, and what odd looks she's going to get as she drives around. Of course, I've had a few odd looks as I've driven around with grass stuck in my head, and people look at me very odd, and we know that I've been in a giraffe onesie this week, so taken my fair share too, but it must be quite entertaining anyway. But our morning is being a little on the frustrating side. We've had tracks, very fresh tracks for a male leopard, and unfortunately they cross over into Torchwood from Buffelshoek side, Buffelshoek Dam side. So I think that must be the leopard that was heard calling around sort of 4 o'clock this morning. I would imagine. I mean, it's the direction of movement is right. They come from the dam area and then they just head straight to the east and then towards the cut line. The thing is that there is this mystery lion call that we heard this morning. There's no like concrete, very fresh tracks. I thought I had fresh tracks for the male, but the more I'm following them, the more I think they're part of those tracks when the Nkuhuma Pride came over and the two boys were following them at that stage. I'm not 100% sure. I just need to check in a couple of places that they are. It's just an absolute mess of lion tracks. Now some will be obviously fresher than others if it was last night or this morning, and there looks like one male track that is a lot fresher than the rest of them, and it comes kind of in the direction that we're driving. And I want to just check one place while I'm driving here, because if I find a track that is outside of where I think these lions were crossing the other day, then hopefully it will mean that there is a male somewhere on Djuma as well. But it seems as like lots is happening all around us. The radio has not stopped this morning. Guys have been talking non-stop. I think my ear's actually going to start bleeding, so we'll have Taylor with no eyes and I'll have no ears by the end of this morning's drive if everyone keeps talking on the radio like they have been. But it sounds like lots of things, lots of tracks for leopards around Chitwa and Cheetah Plains, so in Kruger area, so it will be interesting to see how that all plays out. Right, we're going to carry on and try and see whether or not these tracks are part of the Pride's tracks when they crossed, or if there's a new set that have moved around in this area. And while we do that, let's go back to Scotty D, who's got not only lions but the sleek spotted beauties too.
Welcome back, everyone. Sorry, that's Tristan's having a tricky morning tracking. I'm sure he's going to get lucky though. He's a maestro, so fear not, even though he may be feeling like he's not getting anywhere. Not much has changed here, as you can see, but I'm very interested to wait and see how everything pans out. The other cheetah, a couple of 100 meters away from us, has got up and moved a little bit, and I'm wondering if this cheetah isn't possibly going to want to get up and go and join it. If it does get up, this one, the lioness will see it and then we'll get some action. But there's no way of knowing how long it will take or what will happen. The lioness could get up and walk off in the opposite direction. Definitely seems to be the windiest time of the year that well, at least since we've been here. Every day for the last 5 days there's been a very strong wind blowing, which is quite interesting. Hi, Michael. You would like to know, why is it that the lions will attack cheetah if they don't really pose a threat? Well, they don't pose a threat really to the lions, but they pose a threat to their food sources. The less competition around, be it lion, leopard, cheetah, leopard or hyena, lion will kill all of them as and when they get the opportunity. It just means there's less carnivores' mouths to feed, which means there's more food for them. So I guess that's at least my theory as to why they don't like one another. It would be an interesting statistic to know how many adult cheetah do get killed by lion and or leopard in the Masai Mara. Sadly, I mean, it's so hard to know these things exactly because so much happens when we're not around or when no one's around, which means obviously there's a lot of speculation. as to how animals may die. I guess Kruger, the female leopard at Djuma that disappeared, is a good example of how these animals can die. I'm guessing she died. There's no confirmation that she did, but no one knows how or why. Hello, Willie Lee. You'd like to know if male cheetah are just as territorial as a male lion, and yes, they are. Male lion, female lion, male cheetah, male leopard and female cheetah are all highly territorial. The only one out of those animals is the female cheetah that are not territorial. They will not scent mark and will not be as rigid with the areas that they stay in. I wonder what these cheetah ate, because to have such a full belly, it means they had a considerable meal. Glenda, you'd like to know how will male cheetah respond to cheetah cubs that they come across that are not theirs, and I'm fairly certain, like most of the male big cats, they will kill offspring that are not theirs and that way be able to mate with the female, who no longer has the responsibility of raising those cubs. So I'm fairly certain that will be the case. It would be a terrible scene to witness. I've thankfully never had to witness lion, leopard or cheetah killing their own kind. It would obviously be quite a traumatic scene to witness. But it is Mother Nature's way of making sure that only the best, strongest genes are the ones in the system at any point in time. So sometimes, I guess, nature can be harsh, but for good reason. Well, as we wait here for these big cats to work out what they're going to do, it sounds like Taylor's big cats are eyeing out some possible breakfast.
Not just yet. I don't think they've seen anything. But the lioness on the left is contact calling. Can you hear it? It's very, very subtle. I think the wind might be drowning out the sound of her contact call. I don't know why she's doing that, because all the cubs are here. The other lioness, that of course she's partnered up with, is here. And she's been doing it now for the last 5 minutes solid. Not looking in any direction in particular. I mean, now she was staring off to the right, but she was looking at the left and doing the same thing. I wonder, maybe she's just announcing to everybody that she's particularly hungry. That could be it. Or maybe there are triangle boys in the area and she wants them to come and visit, but it's an interesting one. I'm not really sure as to why she is doing that. Still going. And sometimes the lionesses will join in, the males roar to help announce to the other lions in the area that this place is occupied, but that's not what's happening right now. If she was wanting to announce herself, she'd be calling a little bit louder. I mean, I've seen lionesses do this, particularly the Southern Pride, when they were looking for the four-ways males, their favorite male lions, and maybe they've taken to the Charlestons now because they've been there for some time, but when they first arrived they couldn't stand them. They were so besotted by the four-ways boys, and they would do this often a bit louder though, and then they would respond with a big roar, and then they would all go in the directions of where those calls were coming from. It was always quite nice to see the way that they would meet up. But I don't know what's going on with these girls. I mean, the lion that's sitting up on the mound closest to us, she doesn't seem interested at all in the sounds of those, and the sound of her. Oh, hang on, it's getting a bit louder. why she stopped, but she's going to carry on. She's doing it on and off. Still no food around though for these lions, which is a little bit of a problem. Shame, guys. I would suggest you get up and start moving before it gets too hot. Otherwise you're going to have to wait for this evening again, and you're going to be particularly hungry. I suppose hunger though drives them to go and want to hunt something. I'm going to just have another scan with my binoculars to see if I can see if anybody has woken up just yet on the other side. I'm also going to check the base of the escarpment, because you often find warthogs there, maybe an Oribi, and Oribi wouldn't be ideal for so many lions, but you've got to take what you can get, and even if it is just a little treat, just to keep you going, a little booster, that's okay. This one small meal could mean all the difference. There's nothing. There's a couple of elephants on the base of the escarpment, but other than, and they're so far away, and they won't be going for elephants. No. Girls, you're going to have to make a decision. Are you going to sit here and feel sorry for yourselves and be hungry, or are you actually going to go and look for food? Because I feel as though the way you're trying to spot prey right now, it's not effective. And little cubs who are normally always playful at this time are just not interested in anything. They're just enjoying the morning sun, and I'm about to fall asleep as well in the morning sun. Now, Liz, you're wondering if splintering or breakaway prides would ever stay in contact with one another. Yes, they do. I mean, we see it with the Angamas and the Olololo females. They are sometimes together, so they will. I mean, they're not going to be constantly reassuring that bond, but when they come across one another, I'm sure it's just a little greeting ceremony, hello, how's it going, maybe share a kill, and then they go their separate ways again. Maybe that's what she's doing. Maybe she's looking for other lions. But I mean, around here, there aren't any others other than this small group. I mean, the bigger sausage tree pride is so far from here. I mean, they must be about 3 or 4 miles, maybe even no more. Maybe closer to about 10 miles away. I mean, like, they're exceptionally far. So I wonder if the Triangle boys weren't in the area last night. I did hear male lions roaring right throughout the night. Maybe it's them that they're trying to get hold of. But such a soft contact call with such strong wind would be difficult for them to hear. But the direction that she's looking in and the direction of the wind could also carry that sound down to an area where those other lions are in. I haven't seen anything else coming our way except vehicles. And I'm sure they're going to come and join the sightings soon. They've obviously picked up their guests after a hot air balloon trip. There's nothing. There's no lion. I can't see any other lions with my binoculars. I can't see any cars gathering in the distance. And I cannot see any prey. It's very empty. Now, Maggie, you're wondering if lions or any other cats have a sense of taste. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they've got taste buds to some extent. You probably find that they've got particularly well-developed taste buds. I mean, I can't remember. I actually did research on this and I've forgotten, and I have a note on this, but it's not in the notebook the 2 notebooks that I have here. It's in another notebook, which is actually sitting on my desk, which I was supposed to pack into the car yesterday already. So I'm not sure how many taste buds and sort of how developed a lion's taste buds are. They'll be there though. They'll definitely be present.